Mission Impossible. Yeah. Now, my mission over these next couple weeks, should I choose to accept it, is to talk about all 6 preceding Mission Impossible movies in the build-up to Dead Reckoning Part 1. Well, hence this video and what I've done in the past in build-ups to big blockbusters like this. Challenge accepted. Let's kick it off with the original from 1996, based off the famous TV show, of course. Brian De Palma directed here. Of course, this stars Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt. Around this point in Tom Cruise's career, he wasn't really known as the action star that he would become today. I'm sure a lot of people balked at seeing Tom Cruise in this movie and being like, oh, risky business guy, danced around in his underwear, is now doing stunt work. Tom Cruise had always been fascinated about doing action movies and getting into his own stunts and everything like that. So a movie like this was super enticing to him. So Cruise as Ethan Hunt, along with his mentor Jim Phelps, played by Jon Voight, go on a covert assignment that takes a disastrous turn. Jim is killed and Ethan becomes the prime murder suspect. So this so-called spy movie is now turning into Ethan Hunt on the run as a fugitive. So Hunt recruits a brilliant hacker, Luther Stickle, played by Ving Rhames, and maverick pilot Franz Krieger, played by Reno, to help him sneak into a heavily guarded CIA building to retrieve a confidential computer file that will prove his innocence. Now, the stunts in these Mission Impossible movies have gotten so much more ridiculous over the years, especially as you get into the 20-teens. But no matter how many Mission Impossible movies they decide to make from here on out, I always feel like the first one is going to hold the title as the most suspenseful of them all. And a lot of that has to do with Brian De Palma's direction here. Just in the tricks in the editing and the quick pace. And his method of framing everything in the shot and using wide shots. You really feel the suspense every single frame. And it's super subtle. Not a lot of people notice this on first watch of the original Mission Impossible, but he will often use wide shots to really make you feel like you're in the room with these spies talking to each other over their plans. It also gives you a lot of very clever red herrings throughout the first Mission Impossible movie, especially as you start this movie off. He often will shoot the entire team, and you think we're going to follow the entire team, but all of Ethan Hunt's teammates go down in smoke. And part of me in hindsight is kind of sad that we don't get more Emilio Estevez in this movie than we do. The iconic chewing gum that he brings into the picture. Red light, green light. Hasta lasagna, don't get any on ya. Such a good actor, not appreciated nearly enough as he is. But then once Ethan Hunt starts going on the run, then you start sensing the vulnerability. And that's what I really love about Tom Cruise's performance in this. Aside from the fact that he's a total badass and the stunt work in here is magnificent, he's not portrayed as this invincible superhero. There's a lot of stages of this movie where you feel like Ethan Hunt could possibly die. And it's a lot that goes onto Hunt's plate throughout this movie, and he grows increasingly more frustrated at the prospect of all this going on. And that makes Ethan Hunt so much more relatable as a character. Tom Cruise does not portray Ethan Hunt as this unlikable bastard that you don't want to root for. No, you feel sympathy for everything that's happening to this guy. And you also buy into this character, and you also love this character because of his intelligence and the understanding of the CIA, as well as the understanding of the mission. And that brings me to a brilliant screenplay here. Now, a lot of people might complain that this is overly exposition heavy, and the plot for this movie might be a bit too complicated in a lot of aspects. But here, it works, because especially once you have that scene once Hunt has his team assembled, you really feel like it's an impossible mission. That title does not lie to you. Now, while we're on the subject of the team, there's one actor in here that's still attached to these movies to this very day. Ving Rhames as Luther Stickle. Love this freaking guy. This is such good casting. Not only because he's damn good in the role, but when you look at this role just from a script standpoint and you have no idea who played it, you would never guess that Ving Rhames was the one attached to it. This is a computer hacker, so stereotypically you would expect somebody a little bit more gangly, a little bit more nerdy. Love what he brings to the table in this movie, and he shares great chemistry with Tom Cruise in this first film. Still does to this very day. I mean, everybody they got for this movie is fantastic. Jon Voight, really freaking good in this movie as the guy who would turn out to be the villain. Yeah, spoiler alert, but the movie's over 25 years old, so Yeah, and his villain reveal isn't explicitly my favorite, mainly because it's filled with a couple of plot holes here and there. And that's what turns out to be my biggest issue with the first Mission Impossible movie. The plot may be a bit too complicated for a more casual viewer, and they might not be as fully invested, but that's not necessarily a problem for me, because when I turn on Mission Impossible, I am fully in and engaged in what's going on. And it was so unlike a blockbuster at the time in 1996 to do the things that they did in this movie with Brian De Palma's direction and his method. And just how the action is all framed and a lot of the practical stunt work that went into this. Super courageous effort from everybody involved. Which brings me to probably the most iconic scene in the movie, and perhaps the most iconic scene in the whole franchise, when Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt goes down to actually get the file. Now, first of all, when he's infiltrating this CIA computer, this is a very dated dinosaur of a computer. Overall, the first movie does hold up considerably well in 2023, but the portrayal of the internet really is the only thing that makes you think, okay, this came out in 1996, and yeah, that's an older movie. I can tell. Your internet is not as fast as our internet is right now, movie. But even though you had a brilliant musical score and an iconic theme from Danny Elfman blaring throughout the majority of this movie, this scene, the choice to use little to no sound, brilliant choice. Maximize the tension as much as you can. It gives me shivers every time I watch Ethan Hunt go down into that white room. I'm just gripping my chair all the time. I'm like, oh, don't drop it. Oh, bead of sweat, don't hit the floor. And every time that knife falls through the ceiling and lands in the desk, ugh. Yeah, Mission Impossible is unlike any other action movie that came out at the time. Not a perfect movie in my opinion. It does have a few plot holes that hold it back for me a little bit from being my favorite. But all in all, the original entry in this Mission Impossible saga is a solid effort. I'm gonna give Mission Impossible an A. Definitely a lot better than a lot of critics are saying it is. If you haven't seen the original Mission Impossible in a while, now's the time to revisit it with Dead Reckoning Part 1 coming out. Let me know what you thought of it down in the comments section below. And let me know if you watched the original TV show that this was based on. Guys, I love discussing all brand new things in movies and entertainment here on the regular. And everything Mission Impossible leading up to MI7, you're going to see it covered here on the channel over these next couple of weeks. Stay tuned for my review of MI2, which is undoubtedly the weakest entry in the saga in my eyes. Thankfully, it gets better after that, but we got to get through MI2 first. So if you guys want to keep discussing all things Mission Impossible, all new things in movies and entertainment, this channel's the place to be. So please do consider becoming a subscriber and tap on that like button on your way out. Really helps spread this content out there, and it continues to help us grow this awesome community that we've already built together over here. Guys, y'all are the best. Look forward to more videos very soon. And with all that being said, back talk commence.